Namaste children. In this video, let's discuss the first lesson of class 10th English. Do we all have faith in God? Yes, of course. We all have faith in God. That's the reason we visit the places of worship, we do prayers at home, right? So in our prayers, it could be thanking the God for what we have, or it could also be asking the God for something. Most of the time, it will be asking the God for something, right? Yes, we do have faith in God and we express it in the form of prayers. Do we ever think of writing a letter to God, asking for something? Not many of us, right? Not most of us rather. Even if you write a letter to God, do you expect reply from God really? No, that none of us would, right? But in this lesson, Letter to God, the person by name Lencho, a farmer by profession, writes a letter to God with so much of faith that he doesn't express a surprise when he even receives reply from God. That is the kind of faith. Why does Lencho write a letter to God? What forces him to write a letter to God? Let's see, children. That's what this lesson is about. The house, the only one in the entire valley, sat on the crest of a low hill. Valley means a region between two hills or two mountains. It sat on the crest of a low hill. Crest means top of the hill. From this height, one could see the river and the field of ripe corn dotted with flowers that always promised a good harvest. Yes, fields dotted with flowers definitely promise a good harvest, right? When you see flowers in the fields, it tells us that the field is next ready to yield crop, and the next stage after that is the field is ready for harvest. The only thing that the earth needed was a downpour, or at least a shower. Throughout the morning, Lencho, who knew his fields intimately, had done nothing else but see the sky towards the northeast. So from morning he was eagerly looking up at the sky, expecting a good downpour or at least a shower. Now we are really going to get some water, woman, he calls out to his wife. The woman, who was preparing supper, replied, "Yes, God willing." That means yes, if the God wishes. The older boys were working in the field, while the smaller ones were playing near the house until the woman called to them all, "Come for dinner." This is how you also get a call, right? It was during the meal that, just as Lencho had predicted, big drops of rain began to fall. In the northeast, huge mountains of clouds could be seen approaching. The air was fresh and sweet. We all have experienced it, right? And we all love to feel it again and again. The freshness in the air and the sweet smell in the air just before the raindrops. The man went out for no other reason than to have the pleasure of feeling the rain on his body. We all would love to do it too, right? When we hear just a few drops of rain falling, we would love to go out and stretch our body to the raindrops. And when he returned, he exclaimed, "These aren't raindrops falling from the sky. They are new coins. The big drops are 10-cent pieces and the little ones are fives. He was so excited. He came home. He came inside and said, "Oh my, these are not the raindrops falling. They are the coins falling." What does that say? What does that tell us? It says that after this good rainfall, he is going to get a good harvest out of his fields, which will take care of his family. Here the cent means the coins, like how we have 50 paise coin, 1 rupee coin, so they are cents, the smaller unit of the currency. With a satisfied expression, he regarded the field of ripe corn with its flowers draped in a curtain of rain. But suddenly a strong wind began to blow, and along with the rain, very large hailstones began to fall. Hailstones, alikalu in Kannada. These truly did resemble new silver coins. The boys, exposing themselves to rain, ran out to collect the frozen pearls. The boys were excited. "It's really getting bad now," exclaimed the man. "I hope it passes quickly." He was worried. He saw a few hailstones falling and he started getting worried. He started praying. He wished that this would pass off quickly. For an hour, the hail rained on the house, the garden, the hillside, the cornfield, on the whole valley. Oh, it did not stop as he wished. It continued for an hour. The field was white, as if covered with salt. Yes, the field was covered with a white blanket. It looked as if somebody had sprinkled the field with salt. Not a leaf remained on the trees. The corn was totally destroyed. The flowers were gone from the plants. Lencho's soul was filled with sadness. All his hopes gone. When the storm had passed, he stood in the middle of the field and said to his sons, "A plague of locusts would have left more than this. The hail has left nothing. This year we will have no corn." He says the attack by the insects, locust insect, would have left at least something in the end. Locusts are a kind of insects which attack fields. So at least the attack by locusts would have left something for us in the end. But this hailstorm has left nothing for us. Oh my God, we will have no corn the next year, the coming year. That night was a sorrowful one. All our work for nothing. There's no one who can help us. We'll all go hungry this year. These were the thoughts which were troubling Lencho throughout the night. But in the hearts of all who lived in that solitary house in the middle of the valley, there was a single hope: help from God. Don't be so upset, even though this seems like a total loss. Remember, no one dies of hunger. Suddenly he remembered some good thoughts given by wise men and his elders. That's what they say. No one dies of hunger. Oh, that gave him some hope. Yes, help from God. All through the night, Lencho thought only of his one hope, the help of God, whose eyes, as he had been instructed, see everything, even what is deep in one's conscience. Lencho was an ox of a man. That means he worked like an ox. So he is compared with an ox. Lencho was an ox of a man, working like an animal in the fields. But still he knew how to write. So Lencho was a learned farmer. The following Sunday at daybreak, that means early in the morning, he began to write a letter which he himself would carry to town and place in the mail. It was nothing less than a letter to God. God, he wrote in the letter, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year. I need 100 pesos in order to sow my field again and to live until the crop comes. Because the hailstorm, and he continues and completes the rest of the request. Pesos is a currency used in the Americas. When we say the Americas, generally when we talk about both North America and the South American continent, we generally use the words the Americas. That means peso is a currency of a few countries in the Americas and Philippines and some of these countries. Like how we have rupees. He wrote to God on the envelope, put the letter inside, and still troubled went to town. So like how we write to so and so on the envelope, right? Like that he wrote to whom? He wrote to God, and he put his letter in the envelope, and he was still worried. So it says still troubled, means still worried. He went to town. At the post office, he placed a stamp on the letter and dropped it into the mailbox. He even posted it. He put it into the mailbox. Let's see what happens next. One of the employees, who was a postman and also helped at the post office, went to his boss laughing heartily and showed him the letter to God. When the postman picked up the letters from the mailbox, he was surprised and he started laughing heartily, and he went to the postmaster and said, "See this letter to God." Never in his career as a postman had he known that address. The postmaster, a fat, amiable fellow, also broke out laughing. But almost immediately he turned serious and, tapping the letter on his desk, commented, "What faith! I wish I had the faith of the man who wrote this letter, starting up a correspondence with God." So, in order not to shake the writer's faith in God, the postmaster came up with an idea. What was his idea? Answer the letter. He decided, okay, I should answer this letter. With this, the faith the man has in God will not be shaken up. But when he opened it, it was evident that to answer it, he needed something more than a goodwill, ink and paper. To answer that letter, just a good thought or just ink and paper were not sufficient. Why? Answering this letter means something was required to be done in action. Means the postmaster had to send some money to keep the faith of the man in God. but he stuck to his resolution. He had decided to answer the letter, so he decided he would do anything to answer this letter. So what did he do? He asked for money from his employees. He himself gave part of his salary, and several friends of his were obliged to give something for an act of charity. So he didn't spare. He managed to collect some money from whoever he knew. His employees, his friends, and he himself parted with some salary. It was impossible for him to gather together the 100 pesos. So he was able to send the farmer only a little more than half. He put the money in an envelope addressed to Lencho, and with it a letter containing only a single word as a signature. With the money, he put in a letter also. What did that letter contain? Just one word. What was it? Signature. Signature as God. Because he wanted Lencho to think that this money has been sent by God. The following Sunday, Lencho came a bit earlier than usual to ask if there was a letter for him. So he came to the post office to check if there was any letter for him. That was the kind of faith he had in God. He was actually looking forward to receive a reply from God. It was the postman himself who handed the letter to him, while the postmaster, experiencing the contentment of a man who has performed a good deed, looked on from his office. So when this letter was being handed over to the man who came asking for it, that means to Lencho, postmaster from his office, from his chair, he was actually looking at the scene going on there, and he was expecting a wonderful response from Lencho. Obviously, what would you expect Lencho? You would expect Lencho to be surprised, excited on receiving a reply from God, right? And he was sitting like a man who was content with the contentment of having done something good because he had done an act of charity, right? He was looking forward to a wonderful reaction from Lencho. Lencho showed not the slightest surprise on seeing the money. Such was his confidence. But he became angry when he counted the money. Why? Why was he angry when he counted the money? What was the amount that he had asked for? He had asked for 100 pesos. Was postmaster able to gather 100 pesos? No, it was a little more than half, right? So Lencho was angry when he counted the money. Why should he be angry? If you don't get something what you expected from God, would you be upset or angry? But this Lencho was angry. Let's see why he was angry. God could not have made a mistake, nor could he have denied Lencho what he had requested. So Lencho thought, God could not have made a mistake, and God definitely couldn't have denied, means couldn't have said no to my request of 100 pesos. Immediately, Lencho went up to the window to ask for paper and ink. On the public writing table, he started to write with much wrinkling of his brow, caused by the effort he had to make to express his ideas. So he was angry. he walked up to the man and took ink and paper, and keeping a wrinkled brows, he started writing angrily because he had to express his angry situation to God. When he finished, he went to the window to buy a stamp which he licked and then affixed to the envelope with a blow of his fist. The moment the letter fell into the mailbox, the postmaster went to open it. The postmaster was curious to see his response. He was curious about what he would have written again to God. So immediately he went to the mailbox and picked up the letter to see what he had written as a reply to God. This is what he had written. God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. Send me the rest, since I need it very much. But don't send it to me through the mail, because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. Lincho. This was what was written in the letter in his reply to God. So, he had a strong faith in God, but did he have faith in his fellow human beings? No, he did not have faith in his fellow human beings. He thought the employees of the post office had eaten up the remaining 30 pesos. But what was the reality? Employees of the post office had actually managed to gather 70 pesos. So this is such a contradictory situation. He has tremendous faith in God, but he has no faith in fellow human beings. Yes, ask many questions to yourselves. Read the questions given in the textbook and try to answer. If you have any doubt, you can always leave it in the comment box, or you can always WhatsApp me. Thank you. I'll meet you again for the next lesson.